You're standing in a museum. The lights are low. Clinical. And you're looking at something that shouldn't exist. A human body. Plastinated. Preserved. Put on display. Have you ever stopped to ask where these bodies come from? The explanation usually sounds reassuring. Unclaimed remains, transferred legally, handled through proper channels. But here's the part most people don't realize. Plastination. The process that turns human flesh into those glossy, preserved specimens, is extremely time-sensitive. It has to begin very soon after death. Often within a couple of days. That raises an uncomfortable question. How does a body go unclaimed for weeks? And still end up preserved like this? Do the math. Now imagine this. What if the body you're looking at isn't from far away? What if it's closer to home? And what if someone, somewhere, knew exactly who it was? What if that body is your son? October 2023. Janet Williams, 57, walks into the Body Worlds exhibition at the Portland Convention Center with her adopted son, Daniel. She's an elementary school teacher. A woman who's spent 17 years searching. 17 years of wondering. 17 years of never giving up. Daniel is 20 now. A journalism student. He grew up hearing the story. His brother Derek, the boy who vanished when Daniel was just 3 years old. The brother he never really knew, but whose absence shaped his entire childhood. They're here because Daniel saw a flyer. He thought it might be interesting. Educational. A distraction, maybe, from the weight of a mystery that's haunted their family for nearly 2 decades. The exhibition is crowded. People move through the space in hushed reverence or casual curiosity. Glass cases everywhere. Bodies arranged in athletic poses, running, jumping, playing basketball. The human form stripped down, literally, to muscle and sinew and bone. Janet isn't comfortable. She never is in places like this. But Daniel wanted to go, and she rarely denies him anything. They're walking past a display labeled the cardiovascular system when Janet stops. Just stops. Daniel keeps walking, then realizes she's not beside him anymore. He turns back. Mom. She's staring at a figure. Male. Young. Positioned mid-stride like a sprinter frozen at the starting blocks. One leg extended, arms pumped, head angled forward with that specific intensity athletes have, that coiled, explosive energy captured in death. Mom. Daniel says again, louder this time. Janet can't breathe. Her hands find the display railing. She grips it hard enough that her knuckles go white. Because she knows this body. The lean muscle structure. The way the shoulder blades sit. The specific way the ribs cage the chest, partial fusion on the right side, something she'd seen on X-rays when Derek was 12 and had that bad fall during track practice. But it's more than that. She's looking at the skull. The jaw. And even though there's no skin, no face, she can see it. The gap where the upper right molar should be. Derek lost that tooth when he was 16. Got into a fight defending a friend. Never replaced it because they couldn't afford it and it didn't show when he smiled. That gap is there. Right there. Daniel, she whispers. Her voice cracks. Daniel, come here. He's back at her side immediately. What? What is it? Look at this. Her finger shakes as she points. Look at the ribs. The chest. She can't say it. Can't make the words real. Daniel looks. He's been researching missing persons cases, studying forensic journalism, learning enough about human anatomy to understand what he's seeing. The fused ribs. The healed scarring in the lung tissue visible through the plastinated cross-section, scarring consistent with severe childhood pneumonia. Derek had pneumonia when he was 7. It nearly killed him. Left permanent scarring that showed up on every chest X-ray for the rest of his life. No, Daniel says. But it's not a denial. It's a rejection of the reality assembling itself in front of them. The molar, Janet breathes. Look at the upper right molar. Daniel looks. The gap is there. Unmistakable. Mom, we need to. It's him. Janet's voice is steady now. Certain. A mother's certainty that cuts through 17 years of doubt and hope and desperate, clinging belief. It's Derek. But we need to go back. Back to when this nightmare began. September 14, 2006. Oregon State University. Derek Williams is 18 years old, 6 days into his freshman year. He's a sprinter, not scholarship level, but good enough for the club team. Lean and coiled, a short-distance sprinter, with a smile that never sat straight because of that missing molar. He's on work-study. Stocking shelves at the campus bookstore between classes. His roommate is Liam Cross, a business major who parties too hard and sleeps too little. They're not friends exactly, but they coexist. Thursday night, September 14th, Derek tells Liam he's going out. Meeting some people from the track team at a bar off campus. Liam barely looks up from his Xbox. Derek never comes back. Friday morning, Liam assumes Derek crashed at someone else's place. It happens. Friday night, he starts to wonder. Saturday, he mentions it to their RA. By Sunday, Janet is getting the call every parent dreads. She drives up from Eugene immediately. 3 hours of rising panic. By the time she reaches campus, the police are already asking questions. Already treating this like most missing college student cases, which is to say, not that seriously. Derek is 18. Legally an adult. No signs of foul play in his dorm room. His wallet is gone. His phone is gone. His keys are gone. He probably just took off, one officer suggests. Freshmen get overwhelmed. They leave. But Janet knows. A mother knows. Derek didn't just leave. His bank account isn't touched. His phone goes straight to voicemail, never rings, just goes straight to voicemail, which means it's either dead or destroyed. None of his friends have heard from him. The people he was supposedly meeting at the bar. They say he never showed up. The police investigate. Sort of. They check local hospitals. They put out a missing person report. They interview Liam Cross, who says he doesn't know anything, seems genuinely confused, passes a polygraph. And then the trail goes cold. No body. No evidence. No leads. Just a mother who refuses to stop looking. 17 years. Think about that. 17 years of waking up every morning and wondering if today is the day. 17 years of keeping Derek's room exactly as he left it. 17 years of calling the police department every month, then every week, then finally accepting that they've moved on even if she hasn't. Janet adopts Daniel when he's 3. A foster child who needed a home, and Janet she needed to save someone. Needed to prove that she could protect a child, even if she failed to protect her own son. She raises him alone. Works her teaching job. Spends every spare hour on message boards for missing persons, on Facebook groups, on amateur detective forums. She files Freedom of Information requests. She drives to other cities following up on unidentified bodies. She never stops. People call her obsessed. Crazy. They tell her she needs to let go. Move on. Find closure. But how do you find closure when you don't have answers? How do you bury someone when there's no body to bury? Daniel grows up in this. He learns to navigate his mother's grief. He helps her organize files, update the missing person website, distribute flyers on college campuses every September 14th. He becomes a journalism major because he wants to find the truth. Wants to understand what happened to the brother he never met but somehow knows intimately. And then, October 2023, they walk into that exhibition. Back in the museum, Janet is not leaving. She's pulled out her phone. She's taking photos. Security is approaching. You're not supposed to photograph the exhibits, but she doesn't care. Ma'am, you need to. This is my son. Her voice cuts through the quiet space. People are staring now. This is my son, and I need you to call whoever is in charge right now. The security guard looks uncomfortable. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to. Call your manager. Daniel is recording on his phone. Everything. The body. His mother. The security guard's confusion. He's thinking like a journalist now, documenting everything. The manager arrives. A woman in her 40s, professionally apologetic but clearly skeptical. I understand you're upset, but... Upset? Janet's voice rises. This is my son. Derek Williams. Missing since September 2006. I have medical records. I have dental records. I have x-rays that will match exactly what you're displaying here. Mrs. Williams, these bodies are all legally donated. We have full documentation. Then show me the documentation for this one. I can't do that. Privacy regulations. Privacy. He's dead. He's on display. What privacy? More people are watching now. Phones out. Someone's live streaming. Daniel keeps recording. Mrs. Williams, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, or I'll have to call the police. Call them. Please. Call them. Because I'm calling them too. And I'm calling every news station in Portland. And I'm not leaving until someone explains to me how my son, my missing son, ended up plastinated in your traveling freak show. That's when security physically escorts them out. Janet is screaming now. Not hysterical, focused. Demanding. His name is Derek Williams. He was 18 years old. He disappeared in 2006, and now he's in there. Check the records. Check the records. The October air hits them. Cold and sharp. Janet is shaking so hard Daniel has to hold her up. I found him, she whispers. Daniel, I found him. Monday morning, Janet walks into a law office. She's printed everything. The missing person report from 2006. Derek's medical records. Dental x-rays. Photos of Derek from high school showing that crooked smile, that missing molar. Photos she took in the museum of the plastinated body. The attorney listens. His expression shifts from professional courtesy to discomfort to barely concealed skepticism. Mrs. Williams, I understand how traumatic this must be, but... I'm not crazy. I'm not saying you are. But matching a body based on a missing tooth and what you believe are similar rib structures, that's not evidence. That's confirmation bias in a moment of grief. Then order a DNA test. Match it against mine. The legal hurdles for that would be significant. You'd need to prove standing, prove probable cause, get a court order. So do it. The attorney sighs. Mrs. Williams, even if, and this is a big if, even if you're right, these bodies are donated through legal channels. There are contracts, chain of custody documents, consent forms. The likelihood that there was some kind of mistake or... It wasn't a mistake. My son didn't donate his body. He disappeared. I understand. But without concrete evidence. She leaves the office without an attorney. She tries 4 more firms that week. The answer is always the same. Too complicated. Too unlikely. Too expensive. Come back if you get DNA evidence, but getting DNA evidence requires exactly the kind of legal support she can't get without evidence. It's a perfect circle of failure. Then Janet does what desperate people do in 2023. She goes viral. Daniel helps her. He's a journalism student, so he understands how information spreads in the digital age. They post on TikTok. On Twitter. On Reddit. They lay out the evidence, the timeline, the matching medical conditions, the missing molar, the fused ribs. The story explodes. Within 48 hours, Janet Williams is trending. Hashtag Find Derek Williams. Hashtag Body World Scandal. News outlets pick it up, local first, then regional, then national. But here's the thing about going viral, you become public property. And not everyone is sympathetic. The conspiracy theorists come first. QAnon types, claiming this is proof of Democrat child trafficking rings. Janet has to publicly distance herself from them, which makes her look defensive. Then come the skeptics. Grieving mother sees what she wants to see. It's been 17 years, she's not thinking clearly. Lots of people have missing molars. The medical community weighs in on Reddit, partial rib fusion is more common than you'd think. Lung scarring from childhood pneumonia could match thousands of people. The exhibition releases a statement. We sympathize with Mrs. Williams's loss, but all bodies in our collection are legally acquired through documented donation programs. We maintain strict ethical standards and comply fully with all international regulations regarding human tissue. They don't offer to test the body. They don't release any documentation. They just wait for the story to die. And for a few days, it looks like it will. The initial viral wave crests and falls. Other stories take over. Another missing person case in Florida. A celebrity scandal. A political crisis. The internet's attention is a finite resource, and Janet's story is already getting stale. She sits in her small house in Eugene, watching the view counts drop on Daniel's videos, and feels something close to despair. 17 years she searched. She finally found him. And no one will help her bring him home. But then a journalist named Talia Chen reaches out. Not a social media influencer. Not a true crime podcaster. A real investigative journalist working for a non-profit news organization that covers corporate malfeasance and human rights issues. Mrs. Williams, I've been looking into the body donation industry for 2 years. I'd like to talk to you. They meet at a coffee shop in Portland. Talia is in her 30s, sharp-eyed, with a recorder on the table and a legal pad covered in notes. I believe you, she says, and Janet almost cries with relief. You're not the first person who's contacted me about body worlds and similar exhibitions, Talia continues. I've been tracking patterns. Missing persons whose descriptions match plastinated bodies. Families who recognize specific physical markers. But no one's been able to prove it because the companies hide behind donor confidentiality. Why? Why would they do this? Money. Supply and demand. There aren't enough donors to meet the demand for these exhibitions and for medical schools and for research. So companies that supply bodies, they find other sources. Unclaimed bodies. Sometimes. Prison populations. Psychiatric institutions. And sometimes they're not that careful about where the bodies come from. Talia slides a file across the table. This is Harold Whitman. He was the morgue supervisor at Portland County Medical Examiner's Office from 1998 to 2015. He died last year. But before he died, there were rumors. Whispers about bodies being sold. Nothing provable, but the numbers never quite added up. Janet looks at the photo. An older man, gray-haired, bureaucratic-looking. Forgettable. What does this have to do with Derek? 2006, that's when your son disappeared. Whitman was morgue supervisor. If Derek's body ended up in the Portland morgue system, as a John Doe, as unclaimed, as anything, Whitman would have had access. But Derek was never found. There was no body in any morgue. Officially, Talia says. But what if there was? What if he was found, misidentified or unidentified, logged incorrectly, and sold before anyone could make the connection? It's horrifying. But it's also the first explanation that makes sense. Talia's article publishes 3 weeks later. It's called The Body Trade, How Missing Persons May Be Ending Up in Medical Exhibitions. She names Harold Whitman. She details the discrepancies in Portland's morgue records from 2005 to 2007. She includes interviews with 3 other families besides Janet, families who believe their missing loved ones may have been plastinated and displayed. She presents the evidence for Derek Williams. The medical markers, the timeline, the missing person report, the fact that the exhibition won't release donor documentation. The article doesn't prove anything. But it asks the right questions. And it does so in a credible, researched, cited way that the viral videos couldn't. This time, when the story explodes, it's different. Major news networks pick it up. 60 Minutes calls. The New York Times runs a front-page story. Congress members start asking questions about regulation of the anatomical donation industry. And most importantly, Detective Marcus Ellery, a cold case officer in Portland, reopens Derek Williams's missing person case. Ellery is methodical. Cynical. He's worked cold cases for 15 years and knows most of them stay cold. But he also knows that when someone hands you a lead this concrete, you follow it. He starts with the morgue records. What he finds is chaos. The digital transition in 2006 was a mess. Half the files are paper, half are digital, nothing matches up properly. But buried in the handwritten logs from September-October 2006, he finds an entry. John Doe. Male. Approximate, 18 to 25. Found September 16, 06. No ID. Unclaimed. No other details. No description. No photos. No indication of where the body was found or by whom. But the date, September 16, 2006. 2 days after Derek Williams disappeared. Ellery digs deeper. He hires a private investigator, Rowan Pierce, a woman who specializes in document analysis and corporate investigation. She's unorthodox but effective. Rowan finds the chain of custody. It's incomplete, deliberately obscured, but it's there. The John Doe from September 16, 2006, was transferred to a company called Medisource Anatomical. Medisource supplied bodies to a plastination facility in China. That facility supplied body worlds. The timeline matches perfectly. But they still need proof. They need DNA. Janet files a court petition. This time, she has a lawyer, Elena Morales, who works pro bono for a legal nonprofit specializing in cold cases and victims' rights. Elena is calm, strategic, empathetic. Everything Janet needs. The petition requests a court order for DNA testing of the plastinated body currently on display in the Body Worlds exhibition. The exhibition fights it. Of course they fight it. Their attorney, Victor Lang, is corporate counsel from a major firm. He argues privacy rights of donors, complications of interstate commerce law, the sanctity of donor agreements. Your Honor, if we allow DNA testing every time someone claims to recognize a body in a medical exhibition, we set a dangerous precedent. These facilities would be subject to endless litigation from grieving families seeing what they want to see. Elena responds, Your Honor, Mrs. Williams isn't asking to test every body. She's asking to test one specific body that matches the medical records, physical characteristics, and timeline of her missing son. This isn't about grief-induced delusion. This is about a credible, evidence-based claim that needs verification. If the exhibition has nothing to hide, if this body was legally donated with proper consent, then DNA testing will prove that. Unless they're afraid of what the DNA will show. Judge Celeste Aragon is stern, procedural, clearly uncomfortable with the entire situation. She takes 3 weeks to decide. When she finally rules, she authorizes the DNA test. The courtroom erupts, Janet is crying, Daniel is recording, reporters are scrambling to file stories. Victor Lang immediately files an appeal, but the judge denies the stay. The test will proceed. The DNA testing takes 8 weeks. 8 weeks of waiting. Of hoping. Of trying not to hope too much because hope has been Janet's constant companion and constant betrayer for 17 years. They use familial DNA triangulation, matching Janet's DNA against the bodies, with Daniel's as a secondary reference point to establish family relationship patterns. The results come back on a Tuesday in March 2024. 99.95% probability of maternal relationship. It's him. It's Derek. The confirmation makes national headlines. Mother's 17-year search ends. Son found in traveling exhibition. Body World scandal, missing person identified in museum display. The body he never donated, how Derek Williams ended up plastinated. Janet doesn't feel victorious. She feels hollow. Because yes, she found him. But she found him like this. Plastinated. Displayed. Treated as an object for 17 years while she searched. The exhibition releases a statement, "We are deeply troubled by these findings and are cooperating fully with authorities. We acquired this specimen through legitimate channels and are investigating how this tragedy occurred." They remove Derek's body from display. They offer it to Janet for burial. But Janet isn't done. Because now the questions multiply. How did Derek die? Where was he found? Who found him? Why was he listed as John Doe when missing person reports were active? Why was his body sold instead of held for identification? Detective Ellery expands the investigation. It becomes a murder investigation now, because Derek didn't just die and end up in a morgue by accident. Something happened to him on September 14, 2006. They re-interview Liam Cross, Derek's former roommate. He's 35 now, working in finance in Seattle. He still claims to know nothing, but he's more nervous this time. His answers are too practiced, too defensive. They find that in 2007, Liam moved out of state suddenly. Dropped out of OSU mid-semester. His explanation, family emergency, is vague and unverifiable. But without physical evidence, without witnesses, without a crime scene, because they still don't know where Derek died, they can't charge him. The morgue investigation reveals more corruption. Harold Whitman, before he died, had sold at least 30 bodies over 2 decades. He falsified consent forms. He sold bodies that should have been held for identification. He took cash payments from body brokers. People like Elias Kramer, a man who made a living purchasing unclaimed bodies and reselling them to medical facilities, plastination companies, anyone who would pay. Kramer is interviewed. He's smooth-talking, unapologetic, greedy. Yes, he bought bodies from Whitman. Yes, one of them might have been Derek Williams, he doesn't remember specific cases. He paid $8,000 for that particular body. Resold it for $25,000 to Medisource. I didn't kill anyone, he says. I provided a service. There's a market for anatomical specimens. I filled a need. He shows no remorse. The law shows no teeth. He broke regulations that carry fines, not prison time. Janet buries her son in May 2024. It's a small funeral. Family, close friends, some of the journalists who helped tell Derek's story. Daniel gives a eulogy. He talks about the brother he never knew but whose absence taught him about perseverance, about truth, about refusing to let someone be forgotten. Janet doesn't speak. She stands beside the casket, closed casket, because even after Derek's body was returned, it was in no condition to be viewed, and rests her hand on the cold wood. 17 years. 17 years she waited to do this. It should feel like closure. It doesn't. Janet files a civil lawsuit in July 2024. Against Body Worlds. Against Medisource Anatomical. Against the plastination facility. Against Harold Whitman's estate. Against Elias Kramer. She's suing for wrongful death, trafficking of human remains, emotional distress, negligence, violation of her rights to her son's body. The defendants offer to settle. $3 million. It's a significant amount. More money than Janet will earn in her lifetime. She rejects it. I don't want money, she tells Elena. I want accountability. I want a trial. I want everyone to hear what happened. I want these companies to have to stand in court and explain how they traffic my son's body for profit. Elena smiles. Then we go to trial. The legal battle is ongoing. Discovery is revealing more, documents showing that Medisource and similar companies knew their sourcing was questionable but maintained plausible deniability. Internal emails discussing how to avoid problem cases like Derek's. Evidence that Body Worlds didn't do due diligence on the specimens they acquired. Criminal charges are still being pursued against Elias Kramer, though his lawyers are fighting hard. Liam Cross remains a person of interest in Derek's death, but without physical evidence, prosecution is unlikely. The investigation into Portland's morgue revealed systemic corruption, leading to policy reforms. But Harold Whitman is dead. The records he falsified are gone or destroyed. Many of the bodies he sold will never be identified. It's November 2024 now. Janet is 58. Daniel is 21, in his senior year, already working as a freelance investigative journalist. Together, they've started a nonprofit, the Derek Williams Foundation, dedicated to missing persons cases and reforming the anatomical donation industry. They've been contacted by 47 other families who believe their missing loved ones might be in medical exhibitions or research facilities. Not all of them will be right, but some of them will be. The foundation is helping them pursue answers. Janet keeps teaching elementary school. She still lives in the same house. Derek's room is empty now, his belongings are in storage, waiting for Daniel to be ready to go through them. The trial is scheduled for April 2025. It will be long and difficult and painful. Victor Lang is already making noise about expert witnesses and procedural challenges and the complexity of international body trade regulations. But Janet will be there every day. She'll sit in that courtroom and make them say his name. Derek Williams. Not John Doe. Not specimen number 2847. Derek Williams. 18 years old. A sprinter. A kid who helped stock shelves to pay for college. A son who was loved. Who is still loved. Who will not be forgotten. Because here's what Janet knows now, after 17 years of searching and 1 year of fighting. The system that failed Derek. The police who didn't investigate thoroughly enough, the morgue that sold his body, the companies that profited from his death, that system is still operating. Right now, somewhere, there's another mother searching for her child. Another family filing missing person reports that will be forgotten. Another body ending up in places it shouldn't be, for reasons that should never be legal. Derek's story isn't over. The fight isn't over. And Janet. 57-year-old elementary school teacher, single mother who raised 2 boys and lost one of them twice, she's not done yet. Thank you for watching. This story is still developing, still unfolding. Justice is slow, but it's coming. I'd love to hear from you. Comment your location and the time it is where you are. Let's keep Derek's story alive. Let's keep demanding answers. Because a mother never stopped looking. And because of that, the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Stories that matter. Stories about people who refuse to give up. Until next time.